Hey guys, I'm finally filming the second birth story that I have for you. It's my second child, and it's the second birth story, natural birth story that I have for you. So this story starts with a 34-week pregnant mother driving across the country to get to Ohio. And we stopped at Arkansas for about 4 weeks, so I was rolling into Ohio 38 weeks pregnant, looking for someone to take me. And many people turned us down. They said, "You're too far along, we can't see you." And one lady at Innovative Women's Health said, "We'll take you." And they did at 38 weeks. And it was Bethany and her team there. And so for a couple weeks, she checked me out. She knew my history with the first was good, so I think that made it more likely for her to take me in. We were also house sitting at the time, so imagine that. I had nothing, and we came across the country with a 10 by 12 trailer, absolutely nothing else. Our little white car, a 10 by 12 trailer, everything, every earthly possession that we owned was on that trailer. And so you can imagine, I mean, this is the bare necessities. We were happy, we were joyful, we were driving across to wait and see if we got into the Ohio State University for med school. He was on the waiting list, and so we didn't even know if we were going to get in. So we went 38 weeks. I get there, and our friends let us house sit. And I preface all of this with the birth because I think it's important to note that this was, especially looking back, I've had 3. This is the second one I've had. And this has been that was the most stressful for me. And in retrospect, I can look back and say, here's why. But I went with it. I did it. I mean, what are you going to do? You just do life as it comes and do your best at what, God has in store for you. So there I was, 38 weeks, house sitting. We got there June 29th. I remember that because it was the day of my first daughter's birthday. We got there June 29th and celebrated her birthday. And then exactly about 17 days later, my son was born. So we were house sitting in this beautiful house, watching their dog. And I went into labor at 12:30 in the morning. And my labor was really long, apparently. It was off and on from 12:30 until I had the baby at 8 o'clock that night, which was about 20 hours. It was like 8:30 when he finally came. That was about 20 hours, so that's the longest I've ever experienced. The contractions weren't super painful, though. What was painful was the pushing. That was the most pain I've ever felt in pushing. Let's lead up to that. So 12:30 going into labor, the contractions start. I still try to sleep. I'm laying there, and this is the point where I had done a lot of hypnobirthing. That's the book that really prepared me for this second birth. I didn't do the classes or anything, and I didn't even do it probably exactly how you're supposed to do it, but from the book, I gleaned what I needed to. I took the gold nuggets, and I just did my best with hypnobirthing and really tried to breathe and go deep and just focus on the pressure and the waves and just ride it. It hurts. Like, let's be honest, it hurts. There's a lot of pain in that. Yeah. So deal with it. I mean, here's, oh guys, okay, so I just finished reading this book, and I would absolutely, please read it. It is so opened my mind to acceptance of all kinds of births. I mean, there's stories about cesareans in here, there's stories about epidurals in here, there's natural birth in the hospital, there's home birth. It's everything. And I love it because it really enhanced my view or opened my eyes even more to this idea that the way you do it is okay, especially if you're prayerful about it and you seek answers for yourself, and you seek to be guided by Heavenly Father, because that's what it is. So, yeah, do your best to do what is right for you. That's what this book talks about. It's wonderful. So that all said, it does hurt, but so what? That's what I will say. Is it different for everybody? Yes, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, for me, I realized it was going to be painful. Gosh, read the book. Just read the book. Gift of Giving Life, Felice Austin. I realized, so as I prepared for just realizing you have to internalize it and just let go. You gotta let go. And that's what I realized with the hypnobirthing, like I had to let go. That said, so I went to the temple, and I had 2 contractions in the temple, and in the ceiling room, I remember looking over, and there was a couch, kind of like this one that I'm sitting on, but it had flowers on it. And I remember looking at the flowers, and they were opening. You know, these flowers were just, some of them were blooming. And if you know anything about a woman's cervix or anything, I mean, it looks like a flower opening. And even there's a slow motion one where it's like, sorry, I say slow motion, but it's sped up, so you actually see the movement of this flower going, you know, little bit, until it opens. But the whole time it's going a little bit open, closes a little bit, opens a little bit more, closes a little bit, opens a little bit more, closes. And very, very like a woman's cervix opening. Yeah, a little bit. So, that was a neat experience for me. I'm like, all right, this is happening. Because the whole day, I wasn't sure it was happening. I'm like, yeah, right. His due date's not for 3 days. First daughter came on her due date. I'm like, I have time. Even up until, and I just read my journal entry, this is what I said. Up until I was actually about to push this baby out, I was like, is it really coming? Is it really going to be here? And I'll say this now in case I forget, but it was like, I even remember thinking how much I didn't think it was coming, because I was like, is that hole big enough? Like, can I do this? Is this really coming? Like, I don't think I just was doubting. I was totally like, I don't even think he can get out of there. But when all the people rushed in, I was like, okay, they believe it's happening. I guess I will too. Here we go. So backing up, we're at the temple. I called my mother-in-law. You know, he's having contractions, but they weren't that strong or close together. I was dealing with it. I was breathing. Fast forward, my parents were on their way, and they were supposed to watch my oldest daughter. They were going to get there by the due date. We were going off of, okay, he's probably going to come on his due date. So they were supposed to get there on the due date, the 19th. They ended up not being there for the birth. So I'm in a new place, in a new house, an unfamiliar area. Thank heaven our friends knew the neighbors across the street, an older couple. And I thank heaven, had the thought to take her to them. So they watched her, and that was fine. But it still added a little bit of stress to me. It was like I didn't know them that well. I just kind of put my faith and trust in heaven and in God. I was like, okay, you can't take your baby girl into a hospital, which is stupid, but you know, to watch your other kid to have birth. She can't watch the birth if she's too young, whatever. So yeah, we had to leave her with a neighbor. Parents weren't there yet. So I say all these things too because I think it added to my state of mind going into the hospital, which ever since Felicity, I've always wanted to have a home birth. So left Felicity with the neighbors, older couple, nice couple. Ryan drove me, and it was about 5:30. About 4:30, I had been in the bathtub just kind of like riding out the contractions, and when I still not believing that I was actually going to give birth that day, but when Ryan started packing the bags, I was like, oh, I guess he thinks I'm going to have a baby. Okay, well, okay. So that's when we went ahead and dropped the oldest daughter off at the neighbors, and we went ahead and drove to the hospital. At that point, couldn't get a hold of my parents. Phones were off. I don't know what, but as soon as, they figured out, phones came on, heard the message, they were on their way. So that was good. So in the hospital, this is where it gets good. This is where it's like, I don't know, kind of humorous to me. So I get there, I'm at 8. And because I had group B strep, they wanted me to take some antibiotics. Now at the time, I just didn't want anything. I didn't want any interventions. I wasn't familiar with what it was, and I just figured they wanted to IV me for some reason. I just didn't get it. I was like, no, I don't want anything. And I told them ahead of time, I was like, I don't want anything. And I get to the hospital, and the lady goes, you have to do this. I'm at an 8, okay? I'm in labor, okay? And she's like, you have to do this because you're at our hospital and da-da-da-da-da. Now, look, I understand. I'm at your hospital. I said, I called you guys and I said, I don't want to do that. She's like, well, I'm going to have to get my supervisor up here to sign a paper that says you don't want to do this. Now, I was just like, okay, get her up here. I'll sign it while I'm at an 8. And so I did. She brings up, obviously nothing came of it. I mean, now that I'm more informed about what the group B strep is, and like, honestly, I probably would have just had them tap me up. It would have been fine. But you need at least like 4 hours of being on it to even take effect. So even if I had taken it, it wouldn't have taken into effect because he came at 8:30. Same story with my third. Yeah. Can you believe that? Can anybody resonate with me on that one? Like, dude, do what the mom wants. How about that? How about you do... It's beyond my... I get passionate about it. I'm like, seriously? You're seriously having this conversation with a woman in labor? I digress, but you get the idea. I was a little... I was frustrated. I was like, okay, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it at all. I'm like, do you have kids? Do you even have kids? No offense. Anyways, so she was just doing her job. Okay, she was doing her job. That's okay. So I signed the paper. Fine, whatever. And my request was that everybody just leave. I was like, I want to be alone with my husband in the room. And they respected that. Can you believe that? So for like 2 or 3 hours, I'm in the room by myself, trying to just relax and go through this painful place in this cold room. Thankfully, they turned all the lights off. And they had like all the tools, that you cut you open for all the things. And then they're in like plain sight. Ryan's like, can we just like cover those and move them? It's like, yeah, thanks. So anyway, so there I am laboring, and I don't know about you guys. I love to be completely naked when I give birth. I just think it's like, get all this stuff off me because I'm about to have a baby, That's me though. And so I was Bethany, my midwife, had come in and out, and she reaches her hand up there. I don't know what she does. Maybe she does something. I thought she broke my water, stripped my membranes. I can't remember. She did something, checked me. I don't know. But anyways, after that, things started really speeding up. Which I think later I told her, I was like, did you break my water? Don't ever do that again. I don't know that that's what she did, though. I can't remember. Sorry. But anyways, right after that, I'm standing up against the bed. And that's exactly how I wanted to give birth. Like, I wanted to do that with the first one. That's what my body wanted to do with the second one. I just wanted to stand up, take that stance, hold the bed, and just bear down and, like, push out a kid. Squat if I needed to. So there I am standing, butt naked. And it's time. I mean, Bethany senses that it's time. Ryan senses that it's time. So they bring everybody in. And all of a sudden, I'm like standing there naked, and crowds of people come storming in, and I kind of like froze. I was like, oh, great. Just another slight shock to my like desire to be in this in this dark, secluded room. It's like floods of people just come on in, and it's like, okay. And at that point, Bethany instructs me to get on the table. I talked about this with her later, and I said I didn't like that. I didn't want to be told to get onto the table. I wanted to stand. And so she respected that for my third, which was awesome. But at the time, again, I was just doing what the midwife said. She's like, get on the table. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I guess they couldn't get down on their hands and knees. Look, because it's like, get on your hands and knees and look, right? Anyways, again, no offense. It's just like, that's the mom's birth. Let her do what she wants. You accommodate her, okay? So that's my opinion about that. But there I was. I got on the bed, got on my hands and knees. Mostly my knees, kind of leaned up against the back of the hospital bed. And started pushing. Guys, it hurts so bad. It hurt the pushing. I've never had pushing hurt that bad. Granted, I only done it one other time. But I don't know. It like hurt. I was like, this is the noise I was making. Ready? I don't even know what I was speaking, but that's what it sounded like. I had never heard noises like that come out of me. I was like, what's going on? But of course, that was the absolute peak. And in this book, I love it was like, this mom is giving birth, and her mom's in the room with her, and she's like, Mom, I'm dying. I am dying. And the mom just looks at her, and she's like, yes, you're dying. You are dying. You're no longer that young maiden that you were. You are birthing your first child, and you are becoming a mother for the first time. And it actually brought me to tears, because I thought, wow. I mean, literally, you feel like you can't do it. You feel like you can't do it, but you can, and you are, and that's what's so cool about it. Now, at that moment, so I started pushing, and I remember his head came out, and I was like, oh, phew, is that it? Is that it? They're like, no, one more push. So I pushed again, and there was his whole body. And I turned around, and they put him right there, and the first thing I said was, man, little buddy, you hurt Mommy. That's the first thing I said to him. But then, yeah, he's such a sweet spirit. And I pondered about the different births that I've had up until this point, and it's like, I think they're very reflective. I thought the word was reflexive, but anyways, when I look at the personality of my child and the way the birth was, I see similarities. So that's been neat to kind of drop on. Even the pregnancy, just what I felt and the emotions. I think these things are all connected. Read the book, I'm telling you, it's so good. But so I could see that in the birthing process. He's such a kind, gentle guy that is just so caring. Oh, and I can see that come out. And the time that it took in his contractions, maybe he was just taking it slow, making sure, who knows. It's just neat to reflect on that and think about that. So he came at 8:30 p.m. We had arrived at the hospital about 5:30. My hypnobirthing really helped me, because those were the most comfortable contractions I've ever experienced, at least compared to like my second and third. I was the most collected. I was the most calm for those contractions. Relaxed. I mean, every time one hit, I didn't go wild and crazy and walk around. If that's what your body feels like doing, do it. But for me, I just kind of went, and I let it fall. I let it hit me. I let it take over. You breathe, just breathe all the way in and just relax. Don't get scared, just relax. And so I did that, and that helped me a ton. Yeah, that's Arthur's birth experience. I think I'm leaving anything out. They kept me in the hospital for 2 days afterwards because of the Group B strep, and just to monitor him and watch. Of course, he did fine. He was well. I didn't complain about being in the hospital 2 days. Frankly, I wouldn't mind if they gave me a week in the hospital because I love all the food, the pampering, the things. It's just time to myself, especially if after you have one, it's like, yeah, I just want to sit here and feed me everybody and clean everything. That's how I feel it is. It's like, yeah, sure. You know, just take care of me, okay? I'll take care of this baby. That's exactly how I feel. So I didn't mind it. I was honestly in heaven in the hospital. So that's the experience. I love you all, and I hope you have a great Easter Sunday. And I will get my third baby, Juliet. I'll get her story up and coming before number 4 is due. Here's number 4. Bam! Love you.